Well, Mark, I want to thank you for joining me. A lot to talk about today. You have an amazing event that'll be coming up next year, Baptize America. And there's a whole history that we're going to get into today about where this all originated. But let's start with Baptize America. What is this event that'll be happening next June?
Billy, it's an honor to be back with you, my friend. Always an honor to talk with you. But yeah, we're super excited. June 8th, Pentecost Sunday, 2025. We're going to take what started on the beaches of Southern California 2 years ago on Pentecost Sunday, and what happened this last year on Pentecost Sunday at Huntington Beach. And we're going to launch a nationwide movement. We just believe that if God could do it here in California, he can certainly do it in Tennessee or Florida or some of the other great states. So we're gearing up. We're really, really excited for what God's doing with this baptism movement.
So, what you're looking at next year then would be the largest synchronized day of baptism in American history, correct?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be one of the larger ever. I mean, we don't know too many people that have tried to mobilize interdenominational movement across boundaries. You know, kind of in the church world. It really is one of the major tenets of our faith that all of us agree on. I think that's what's beautiful about water baptism. It really does fulfill the prayer of Jesus to make them one as believers, disciples, as Jesus and the Father are one. And so I think it's a part of the Great Commission is Matthew 28, go into all the world, make disciples of all nations. It's almost like he dabbles in a little secret sauce there of how we're going to do that, baptizing them. And so I think that baptism could be a catalytic thing that we can all rally around, get excited about to mobilize the church to work together.
Well, we've been watching mass baptisms unfold for the past couple of years now. Of course, they've always been a thing, but really a couple of years back, we saw with the Asbury revival, we'll get into all that, but all of these things that were happening spiritually in the country. And we're seeing now college students showing up on campuses, listening to Christian speakers, and they're so they're so thirsty to get baptized that they go into the back of a pickup truck and they get baptized right on campus. I mean, this has been really fascinating to watch. And this all started with an event that you did, Baptize SoCal. And I want to get into that in a moment, but to talk a little bit more about this bigger event happening next year, Baptize America, how will this work? You'll have a centralized event, and then you're going to be inspiring people in churches all across America to take part as well.
Exactly. And so our intention is about 2 to 3 weeks prior to Pentecost Sunday. Will be probably mid-May. We'll announce those dates here shortly. We're going to do basically a launch event for Baptize America in Huntington Beach, California. This last year we had 19,000 people show up to the beach, and so our goal is it'll probably be even larger this year. But our intention is to have pastors and leaders from around the country fly in to that event that'll take place 2 to 3 weeks before the nation. And when they come in, we're actually going to create space in the schedule that will actually pray for all those leaders of the body of Christ from around the country, and just really believe that what's happening in the beaches of Southern California, that same spiritual fire awakening would go back to all of their states and their parts of the country. So I'm really excited about it, to be able to actually leverage what's happening here a couple weeks before that would launch really the movement of America. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really powerful goal in light of all of these baptisms that we've seen, to really try to inspire the entire country. And again, this started with Baptize SoCal. This was 2 years ago, as you said, and this was an event that you had localized there. How many people showed up to that first mass baptism that you did?
We had over 10,000. I think it was like the fire department or the police department estimated between 11 or 12,000 people that showed up. We baptized 4,100 and some change at the first one there at Pirates Cove. Kind of gave that little cove a nervous breakdown. It was 6 hours of just continual consecutive baptisms. We had rented we were given this house to use, this really beautiful house. I think several outlets were doing live recordings from the balcony there. It was awesome. They did a documentary about it. And so it was really an awesome way to kick off what we set out to accomplish. And from there, we knew we couldn't go back to Pirates Cove on the scale of how this thing was moving. So the next kind of public beach within a vicinity of maybe 20 miles would be to go a little bit north to Huntington. And Huntington's been kind of a battleground. It's where LA County and Orange County collide, and a lot of the world values collide, political values collide. And Huntington has just been this really kind of historical location for moves of God. And so we took there this last just Pentecost Sunday, set it up there. We had almost 20,000 people, they say, show up, and we baptized over 6,000 at that beach. And then we actually were able to unify. This was the beautiful part about it, is we had this beach event, but we also had local churches. I think we had over 500 local churches that were unified in the state across denominational barriers. So some of the largest Baptist churches, evangelical churches, Pentecostal churches, all working together, literally from the top of the state. I think we had every county represented in California, which was awesome. And we saw another 6,000 people get baptized in local churches this year. And so that's what's beautiful about this, is we're not asking pastors or churches to do what they don't do already. They're already baptizing people. It's already something that we value, that we're doing. We're just asking people to come together to join under maybe a larger umbrella. Because, when we baptize 1,000 people at our church, that's phenomenal. But the city we're in might not take notice of that. But if we can actually say, hey, in one day, our city, between 30 churches, we baptize 15,000 people. That's stuff that our world acknowledges and goes, man, what's happening? That Christians are working together and churches are working together. I think it really captures the imagination and the hearts of our city when they see us really working together like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And looking at Baptize SoCal, Baptize California, now Baptize America, this has grown into something massive. I imagine it's going to grow into a global phenomenon after that. So you've really been moving and scaling this up. But I want to go into what it was that sparked this, because it's a pretty incredible story. A lot of people might say, what made this pastor want to do Baptize SoCal, do the first event, a mass baptism like that, where that inspiration came from? Can you talk a little bit about what sparked that?
Yeah, well, I would just say, first of all, I'm a nobody from nowhere. So I'm probably the least likely candidate to try to do something like this. I was just like a lot of you watching, having my devotional time with the Lord. I was reading my Bible, and after I read the Bible a little bit, I was reading a book on spiritual awakenings. And there was a segment in the book that caught my attention for two reasons. It said it was the largest baptism in American history up to that point. And the second part that caught my attention was it happened in Orange County, where I pastor. And the part that really struck me was I was anticipating it would have been in the Jesus Revolution time period, but it actually was in 1990, after one of the great pastor Greg Laurie, his crusades in Anaheim. They said in this LA Times article, it's still out there, you can look it up, in 1990, that thousands went. They said somewhere between 4,000 or 5,000 went to Pirates Cove. And they baptized a couple thousand people that day, like 2,000 plus people. And when I read that in this book, I kind of closed my eyes, and I felt like God gave me this. I don't know, I've never had a dream or a vision. I heard, the difference is, a vision is when you're awake and God shows you something, and a dream obviously is when you're subconscious and you're sleeping. And I was awake, but I saw this imagery of Pirates Cove, and I saw people that I knew in our church. I saw the landscape of the beach, and I knew it wasn't the past, it was the future. And it wasn't an audible voice. I wish I was that cool. It was that still, quiet whisper in my heart. And it was it was inviting me, and I felt this voice speak to my heart and say, Mark, I want you to do this again. And I want you to mobilize and organize, and I want you to fund this first year of bringing my kids together. And my response was probably like many of you when God's asked you to do something that's bigger than you, smarter than you, stronger than you. I'm like, God, there's a lot of great pastors in Orange County. Why don't you have one of them do this? I'm the new pastor. Our church is 3 years old at the time.
Wow.
We're just trying to, pioneer what we just had bought a building, and we're in the middle of our own set of challenges. And when I said, God, find somebody else, I'm not the right guy. it was almost like that Exodus chapter 3 moment when God, Moses said, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" And God's response wasn't, he never talked back to Moses' insecurity. All he said was, "Go, and I'll certainly be with you." And I just felt like God didn't answer my insecurity. Who am I? He just said, "If you go, I'll be with you." So I told our team, I talked to our board, I talked to our church. Everyone got excited. This would have been, I think it was April of 2022. So we announce it. It would have been 3 or 4 months later, in I think July. I saw the trailer for the Baptize Jesus Revolution. The movie came out, which I'm like, if I was Jeff Bezos and I wanted to make an advertisement, a video to promote what we were trying to do, I would have made the Jesus Revolution movie because everybody wanted to come to Pirates Cove to get baptized. And so God created this ideal situation that everyone was thinking about it, everyone was talking about it. And so when we did it, it was right place, right time. It was amazing. And then subsequently, when we did this year, Baptize California, it was like the week that Russell Brand, he got water baptized. And so again, the eyes of the world were looking and talking about water baptism. And so it really feels like God, I heard it said that if you listen to God's voice, he'll make you look like a genius because he is in the future and he knows where we'll be if we follow him. And that's, I think, really what's happened for us is we're just a bunch of nobodies that believe that God can do anything. And when we've tried to partner with God, he's just created this divine momentum that we could never really reproduce.
Well, how has this changed you? Obviously going into it, being a pastor, you mentioned the church was 3 years old at the time. There's a lot of ebbs and flows and ups and downs of being a pastor, as you know. And here you go out there, you listen to God, you follow him, you do this, and now you have two other events coming out of it. This next one's going to be massive, much bigger than the original, and the original was big enough. How has it changed you? What has changed about your heart as you've gone through these processes?
It's a great question, Billy. I think ultimately, I think it's reinforced my conviction. I think two things. My wife's uncle was a great pastor. My father-in-law is a great pastor. And when her uncle had passed away, he built one of the greatest churches in America in probably 10 years. It was just a phenomenal church in the Seattle region. And I remember when he got diagnosed with cancer and towards the end of his life, he was interviewed and was talking, and he just said, if I had it to do over again, I would have attempted something greater for God. And I thought, man, this guy built a church of thousands and impacted the nation and really inspired a lot of the body of Christ. And I thought, man, if this guy is saying he would have swung for more after what he did, man, I got to be so intentional believing when God gives me those little whispers to really believe that he's capable of anything. And so I think for me, it's easy to have a theory of we're going to believe God big and put our money where our mouth is and risk and step out. But actually stepping out and doing some of these things. I mean, we did Baptize California this year. It was $1 million endeavor. And we were we're in a $30 million building campaign right now. So it wasn't the best timing to do something like this. But we stepped out, and there was so many churches and pastors in California that rallied. I was in a room with probably, 150 pastors. And I shared the vision. This is about a month before we did Baptize California. And at the end, one of the pastors locally here in Orange County raised his hand and he said, can I say something, Mark? And I just said, yeah, absolutely. And he stood up at his table and he said, God's in this. We got to rally around this. We've all been asking God to do something great in our day. And we have a part right now to put down our egos and our logos and really unite around something that's bigger than all of us. And he said, I want you to know, Mark, I'm for you, and I believe in what God's doing. And our church is going to donate $10,000.
Wow.
And what was so powerful, I wish we had a crew there today, that day to capture it, because after that, another guy raised his hand and said, I'm with you also, Mark. We're going to give $10,000. And in that one meeting, there was probably 15 pastors that stood up. We raised, I think, $200,000 in that one meeting. There was a business guy that goes, put me down for $50,000.
Wow.
And so we came into the day of the event. It ended up costing just under 1.1 million. We did a 6-figure marketing campaign for the state. Baptize America is looking to do a 7-figure marketing budget to really get the word out to reach God's lost kids. And we just stepped out. But it was crazy, Billy, because the night, We did the event. We saw 6,000 baptized at Huntington, 6,000 in the state, getting all these crazy. I mean, we had churches at the Pier in LA, Redondo Beach. In the Bay Area, we had, I think, over 40 churches work together, did a mass baptism right next to the Golden Gate Bridge. And just to see this movement hit our state was beautiful. But I got back to the hotel room, and I'll be honest, I got back and I asked our finance department, where are we at? And I knew that we were probably right around, $1,080,000, I think is kind of where we landed. And we were about $149,000 short when I got back to my hotel room that night. And I was like, Lord, thank you that we did this, and I wish we would have made budget. But I trust you. And literally, this is 1:00 in the morning. And one of our business guys messages me and he goes, hey, Mark, I know it's late. You're probably just getting home too. Where did we land with this endeavor? He baptized that day. This guy came out and baptized probably 200 people himself. Wow. And I said, well, we did great. We're about 149 short. I said, but I know our church is generous. We're going to rally. Everyone's excited. We'll make it up the next few weeks, next month or two. And he goes, no need. Talk to my CFO tomorrow. We'll wire the rest of the money. So I went to sleep that night knowing that God took care of everything. And so how has it changed me? Long answer is I've seen that when we listen to God's voice, even if it sounds a little bit audacious, that God guarantees and he warranties what he creates, what he builds. And I'm seeing that firsthand right now.
So this is incredible. And this is a great opportunity for people who are listening or watching. They may say, look, I want to be involved. I want my church involved. I want more information. Where can they go right now to get more information on Baptize America?
That's amazing. Yeah, go to baptizeamerica.com. And we'll have literally every state is already, I think we already have almost every state signed up right now. We're really focusing between now and January to sign up as many churches as we can. In January, we're going to launch officially November 8th. So we're going to start advertising everything. And our goal is really 3 trimesters. We're going to sign churches up. So if you're watching this, if you're not a lead pastor, I would love it. We would love it if you would go to your pastor and say, hey, this is an interdenominational movement. No one's trying to take credit for anything. We're working together. And basically our heart is that we're going to send out a huge marketing campaign that's going to just tell people that normally wouldn't go to church, if you want to get closer to God, because remember, God's lost kids. This is what God told me. They understand Easter, Jesus' resurrection. They understand Christmas, the birth of Jesus. And they, for whatever reason, people with no church background, they know that water baptism is very sacred and special. So we're going to actually do a campaign that's massive, basically inviting people that normally wouldn't come to church to go, hey, do you want to get closer to God? Are you ready to take the next step? Get water baptized. It's the largest synchronized baptism day in history. Be a part of it. Go to baptizeamerica.com, click on your state, and you'll see a map of the state with all the locations that'll be participating. Find the location closest to you. So our goal is, we're not a parachurch organization. I'm a local church pastor. So everything we do is not connected to hype and just blowing in and blowing out. Our goal is to put on an event that's really from the heart of the local church to reach the world, to build the local church. So we're going to bring as many people in. All we're asking church pastors to do is make sure there's a clear gospel presentation that Jesus Christ is Lord, give people an opportunity to get right with him, and then explain to them what water baptism is, identifying in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And as they get baptized that day, we're going to have a follow-up strategy for all the churches so that people actually get connected to local churches. We believe that discipleship, it takes a church to raise a Christian. It takes the whole Bible and it takes the whole body of Christ to work together to reach the world and to make a difference and to make disciples. And so if you're watching this, maybe ask your pastor, can we be a part of this movement? Again, there's so many pastors that would vouch for the integrity, the credibility of what we're doing. We're not trying to draw people to our church. Our local church isn't even advertised on anything that we've done. It really is a movement for the church, not one church. So sign up your church. And then from there, we're going to do a second trimester. We'll be focusing in basically January of getting as many individuals as possible to sign up. People can sign up right now to get baptized and register, but the main focus right now is to get as many churches signed up as we can. And then the second trimester will be actually advertising to get individuals signed up. And then the last month leading up to the event, we'll be focusing on sharing the locations of where people can go to get baptized. So we would love it. Go to baptizeamerica.com, ask your pastor to sign up. And honestly, it would mean the world to us if you believe in this. It's obviously a massive financial undertaking. And we're asking those that maybe you're watching this and you love the vision of it, if you'd be willing to even pray about contributing to this. Our church can't carry all of it. No one church probably can, but I know there's everyone can do a little bit. So if you love what we're doing, it would mean the world to us to go on the site, maybe contribute also.
Well, I love that. And those 3 phases, they're coming up quick here. And before you know it, this event will be here. It is Baptize California. I appreciate your time today, Mark.
Billy, always an honor to be with you. I appreciate you helping us get the word out.